no action was taken by the council in closed session. So I'm going to call the City Council open session meeting to order for October the 2nd. And the first order of business this evening, I'd like to take a moment of silence for those who have fallen in Las Vegas, for their families, and for all of the first responders, no matter who they were or what role they played. So if we can just close our eyes and just take a moment of silence. Thank you for that. We will now do the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll stand and join me.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
All right, council members, Connie Williams.
Here.
Jim Garaventa.
Here.
Matt Hawkins.
Here.
Mark Plummer.
Here.
George Segarini.
Here.
City clerk is here. Administrator Tim Miller.
Here.
Our interim city engineer is absent. Attorney Nubia Goldstein. Here. Administrative Services Director Jennifer Callaway. Here. Fire Chief Amy New. Absent. Acting Police Chief Turu Vanderweel.
Here.
Community Development Director Rochelle Kellogg.
Here.
Okay. City clerk's report on agenda posting.
At noon on the 29th day of September 2017, the agenda for this meeting was posted outside City Hall for public view.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda. Is there anything that needs to be added or delete or pulled from the agenda? Any public comment? Then we'll move on to presentations for this evening. These are the Vision Sonora Award of Merit presentations. For those of you who don't know, this was started by the Vision Sonora Design Committee quite some time ago when we began seeing that building owners or business owners were doing something to the exterior of their buildings that was enhancing the visual beauty of downtown historical Sonora. This evening we have 4 presentations, and the first one on the agenda, Andrew Carpenter and Russell Orr, who own the building at 94 North Green Street, they are unable to be with us this evening, so we will deliver that to them. We have the Simons Property 2 LLC at 644 South Washington Street, and the William and Carol Poly Building at 38 North Washington Street. And I'm looking in the audience. I was told that someone from the Sonora Area Foundation would be, okay, great. Then, if you will come up to the podium, please. And will you be accepting for both the Simons Property and the Polys?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to, it takes effort, it takes money, and it takes a vision to keep our beautiful little city looking more beautiful for the future. So this Vision Sonora Award of Excellence is presented in 2017 to Simons Property 2 LLC, 644 South Washington Street, Sonora, for caring to improve the appearance of historic downtown Sonora. And it's signed by Connie Williams, Mayor of the City of Sonora, and we also have one for the Polys.
Thank
so
you.
if you would present that to them,
I
and
certainly will.
hopefully it'll be hung in a place where all can see how much we appreciate your efforts.
Thank you very much. I appreciate
you.
that. And I'm really glad that you don't give out awards for worst looking building when we painted ours this ugly green color. I don't know if you noticed that or not, but
Well-
We finally got it right.
It really looks nice. And so people are constantly saying, did you see that building? They just did something to their building. Don't forget to put them on the list. So we have a growing list right now of properties that are doing things to enhance the beauty of historic support Sonora. So please pass that along to the Pollys and also to all that are involved with the Simons properties.
I will. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. We appreciate it.
Thank you. And I believe Chris Oakes, is he here this evening? Please come up. I don't think I've had the opportunity to meet you, or I know your mom and dad pretty well, but good to meet you, and thank you for coming to accept this award on their behalf. Again, this is the Vision Sonora Award of Excellence, presented in 2017 to Edward W. Oakes and Pamela L. Oakes, 320 West Stockton Street, Sonora. For those of you that don't know, that's the newly painted brown building on Stockton Road, and it really did dress it up nicely, for caring to improve the appearance of historic downtown Sonora. So please pass
Thank
that
you.
on to your mom and dad.
Will
Would you
do.
like to say anything?
Not really, but thank you to City of Sonora. We're trying hard to get things moving down there, so.
Well, we just want to know we want all of you to know how much we appreciate that.
Well, thank you. All right.
Okay, item E on the agenda is public comment for non-agenda items. The public may address the council on any item of public interest not otherwise on the agenda that is within the jurisdiction of the city. No action may be taken. Matters to be addressed may be referred to city staff or placed on a subsequent meeting agenda. Speakers are limited to a 5-minute presentation. Is there anyone who would like to come forward?
Yes. Hi, I'm Lori Lehman, and I just wanted to come by and tell some of you, if you don't know, that we have this band of angels that has been in downtown Sonora cleaning up the streets on their own time. And I don't know the last names, but it's Robin from the Antique Attic and Ed from Rustic Roses and Carol. And they've been doing a beautiful job. You just can't believe what a difference it makes. And I just wanted to thank them publicly and make sure that you guys know who's doing the work. And the other thing I wanted to say was I had the opportunity to go to the Unruly Brew Fest over the weekend and pour a beer there, and I just wanted to publicly compliment the people that pulled off that event. You know, there were definitely a few little things that they have to work out, but it was their first time, and I thought they did a wonderful job, so I hope they'll do it again. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Any other public comment? And thank you to all those who are out cleaning the sidewalks. And thank you to the entities that were involved in producing the event down at the fairgrounds. Okay, we'll move on to the consent calendar. Items on the consent calendar are considered routine and will be voted on in one motion unless a council member or member of the public has a question or wishes to discuss an item. In that case, the item will be removed from the consent calendar and considered separately. Item number 1 is approve the following meeting minutes. City Council open session meeting of September the 18th, 2017. Item number 2 is approval to pay invoices of previously budgeted expenses on October the 3rd, 2017. And item number 3 is approval of disbursements in the amount of $132,330.37 on September 29th, 2017 for payroll, inclusive of employee salaries, employer and employee taxes, and retirement contributions, and miscellaneous voluntary employee deductions.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, any other discussion? Any public comment? Then I'll bring it back to the council for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Passes unanimously. Item G is unfinished business. Item number 1 is consideration to establish a process to designate alternates to the Homeless Task Force and set a first meeting date. Staff report.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, this item is back on your agenda at your request. You previously have identified you'd consider alternates for the charitable organization and the agency service provider organization through the filing of an application and ratification by the council. If you wanted to modify that action, then you need to do that, consider that tonight, and by motion modify that. And the other item related to this is for the council members that are representatives of the task force is to set the first meeting date so we can get it properly noticed.
Okay. Any discussion by the council regarding alternates? We have 5 public members that are on the task force, and I believe it says here that the council already agreed to consider alternates for the agency service provider and charitable organization, as Mr. Miller said. So that would be for ATCA and Interfaith. I think that's correct. Okay. So we have the Lambert Center.
Yeah, the homeless advocate and the public.
And we have the private resident, and additionally the merchant, the business merchant. So the only one that came to the council and asked for additional alternates was Jeanette Lambert with the Lambert Center.
I still believe we need a alternate for at least the business or the public at large, both of them. I believe that really strongly. The businesses are what has brought this to the forefront for us, and I believe that we need an alternate for them. Said that last time, too.
Okay, other discussion?
My concern is doing it for some and not all. I think we should either do it for all or do it for none. That's kind of...
Any other discussion?
Well, my position last time was that we do not have an alternate for the more of like the individual Lambert Center, I guess, is not an individual. So.
No, that's the homeless advocate.
Yeah. And that was just because my experience in having meetings, task force or whatever, over the years, and I've had a lot of meetings over the years, probably more than all of you put together here on the council, was that when the person representing an organization or representing themselves on the meeting panel, if they have an alternate, you lose some continuity between the regular person who's supposed to be there and then the alternate that was there. Sometimes there's a lack of communication between those two to find out what's going on, and at the next meeting when the regular person's there and you discuss something and say, oh, I didn't hear about that. Well, we discussed it at the last meeting. So that was my only reasoning for doing the alternates, or not having alternates for the individuals. If the council feels it's necessary, I don't have any objections to that.
Okay. I agree with George that if the main person who was appointed isn't here all the time, and the loss of continuity, when you have the next meeting, then you've got to kind of play catch up. So, but on the other hand, you always want representation by the organization that has been appointed. So I don't have a problem with having alternates either.
I have too little experience in meetings with alternates and going back and forth. I think Jim's point of either all or none seems like the fairest proposition. To me, the businesses and the homeowners have at least as much stake as the representatives and organizations for the homeless. And where we preference one and not the people who actually build the town and pay for everything, I think that's slightly unfair. But for this, like I said, my inexperience is so great with meetings and alternates that I defer to other people's superior experience.
Okay. I'll ask for public comment. Yeah, please. This way the public can hear you and we can record you.
Okay. So I'm Kathy Peacock, and I'm one of those that has been put on the task force as the charitable organization. So I'm not hearing quite clearly what you're saying about those alternates. Number one, is it just the charitable and the service provider that may not have an alternate and the others may? Is that what the thing was a couple of weeks ago?
The other way
around. So the charitable and the service provider may have an alternate.
Yes.
One thing I was thinking about that is, would it be possible if there's other people who have applied from the same organization to be placed on that?
Sure.
Not a separate person that's not involved with that. So there is some communication, and that would be part of the responsibility of myself for Interfaith, and have someone else who might have, I don't know if they did or not, apply to that. And that way there's automatic communication, it would seem to me, if you're going to do something like that.
Okay.
That's all.
Thank you.
My answer is no, no, and no, because all you're doing is doubling the size of your committee. So these people applied, they were selected, they're either on the committee or they're not. And they're either committed or they're not. And I thought we decided it was going to be, what, 7?
7.
So it's 7, not 14.
Well, an alternate would only sit in place of the primary person. They wouldn't be part of the. That's true. From that perspective, yes. But the committee is still 7 people. Okay. Any other public comment? Then I'll bring it back to the council for a motion.
I'm going to move that the committee have just the original folks that applied as the voting members with no alternates for anyone.
I will second that.
Any other discussion?
It makes it tough for me because I just see it through a different light. And Carol, I get exactly what you're saying also, so I still think there should be alternates. So.
Okay, I haven't called for the vote yet, so.
Well, the more I think about it, the more I think that we're better off with just one committee, the people who were selected, and without giving a preference to organizations. Because as soon as we do that, then we could have just as easily made the Chamber of Commerce the business representative as an organization and given them a second person so that they would always be represented. And so I think as I've thought over it and heard different ideas, I've come around to saying just the original 7.
Okay, but the motion.
Do away with alternates.
Yeah.
No alternates.
Right.
Okay, so, okay.
So
So my 2 cents is, like I said, I was in favor of either having them for all or having them for none. One thing that we can easily do by having none is to see how it goes. And if we start having problems with people attending, either A, replace that person, or B, find alternates. So we can just see what happens.
And I think it's important, you're going to be setting a date and time for the first meeting, and that's going to be important to the business representative, because if anybody's going to have a difficult time with meeting times, it's somebody that's in business, and it's got to be at their shop instead of being at a meeting. So I hope you keep that in mind when you decide that part of it.
Okay, so would you reread the motion, please?
Yes, so the committees have the original members who apply with no alternates for any of the members.
Okay. So we have a motion and we have a second. Any other comment by the council? Any additional public comment? Then I'll bring it back to the council for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No.
Abstained? Councilmember Hawkins votes no. Okay, now, the next order of business under this item is setting your first meeting date. And Councilmember Hawkins and Councilmember Garaventa are the council members assigned to the Homeless Task Force. So I'm going to let you guys start that conversation.
Well, as was it George, you mentioned that having it after hours? It was you or Matt?
That's probably true for all of the.
That's what I was
true
beginning to
for
think.
everyone.
Jeanette's not here, but Kathy is. I would think 5 or 6 in the afternoon, at least for the first one, until we all get together. And because I know Raj, if he's here, will be here. I'm sure his day is 8 to 5 or something like that. So his free time would be in the afternoon as well, or very early morning.
I'm thinking around 6 p.m. because even with business and everything, you get through your rush and then.
Yeah. So, what day? Wednesdays are bad for me, usually because I'm filming.
It can't be a Friday.
I think Friday would be a bad day for everybody.
Yeah. Yep. So that kind of leaves us Tuesday and Thursday.
You got, did I hear anything about Monday?
Depending on what Monday it is.
So
You got
3 of
Monday.
those 4 days I'm filming,
Yeah.
I'm either here or filming here.
The first and third Wednesdays is when the marijuana task force meets here at 5 o'clock, so you might want to look at Tuesday or Thursday.
I'm thinking more Thursday.
Thursday the 19th?
I would, from a staff standpoint, we have meetings on the first and third weeks of the month on Mondays and Wednesdays already. So I would encourage you to do it, preferably a second or fourth meeting for the month. So there's already calendared meetings on the first and third weeks on Mondays and Wednesdays. So I would suggest the second or fourth week of the month if you were going to set another meeting.
26th?
That's the, oh, you guys can do that.
Well, I'm not on the board.
That's right. Not on that board.
Which board is that?
The Cable Aid
Oh.
has their board meeting on the 26th.
So for October, that could be the 12th and the 26th.
I mean, it runs into my fireman's meeting, but I can skip that. Second Wednesday, or second Thursday.
So what date are you thinking of?
Are we expecting to meet twice? Are we just saying the first meeting? Aren't we?
I just set the first meeting for now.
Why don't we just, let's just set the first meeting and go from there. Because I'm sure we might find from the other group that it's a bad time. So, can we do it as early as the 12th?
Need 72 hours to post a notice, so there's enough time.
Kathy?
Either one's fine.
Let's get started. The 12th.
Yep.
At 6 p.m.?
6 p.m. here, I assume, in this very chamber,
Yeah.
On the 12th,
on the 12th.
and that's open to the public as well.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, we have a date for October the 12th at 6 p.m. here at City Council Chambers. It is an open meeting, so those who are interested in attending can attend. All right. All right. Item H, public hearings. We have none this evening. Item I is new business. Item number 1 is consideration to adopt resolution number 10-02-17-A, authorizing the closure of State Route 49, Washington Street and Stockton Road, and other city streets, and designating no parking times and locations for the 2017 Christmas parade to be held Friday, November the 24th at 6 p.m.
Yes, hi, I'm Sheila Wilkinson, and we're getting ready for Christmas, if you can believe that already. So I would like to ask your approval to hold the Christmas parade the day after Thanksgiving. The parade will now be at 6 o'clock. We've moved it back a half an hour, and so will all the parking too. If you looked through this very long list of street closures, they've all got moved back a little bit. And asked for the mayor or the mayor pro tem to be in the parade as well. Is there any questions? I mean,
Any questions by the council for Ms. Wilkinson?
I don't,
Or comments?
yeah. I just wanted to make a comment on the change of the time, which was recommended by the business folks downtown. They felt that giving them a little extra time for parking in downtown on supposedly one of the most busiest days of the year for them would be helpful. And so that's why that is taken.
and there's going to be a very quick turnaround. Last year it was at 2:30 and now it's 4. So that's going to be a hustle.
More pressure on everybody, but hopefully it'll work out for them.
I hope so too.
Any other questions or comments? Any public comment? Then I'll bring it back to the council, and I will be in town, so I'll be happy to ride in the parade. I'm pleased to see that, as George said, that parking won't be shut down until 4 o'clock. Hopefully that's going to make a difference with the merchants. And the other thing is to remove the no parking signs as quickly as possible, which that has been done the last 2 years, and I think that makes a difference also. Most people can't read that little tiny
The writing
on the bottom. All they see is the no parking, and so
Yeah.
they move on. So with that, I believe I need a motion.
I'll move to adopt resolution 10-02-17.
Second it.
Okay?
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other?
Who was recorded as a second, Mary Jane? Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I'll just add that on that Saturday of that weekend, the downtown merchants are adopting Shop Local, Shop Small Business Day. And so there's going to be a lot of discounts and things going on on Saturday following Black Friday. And that's to help stimulate business for our businesses in downtown Sonora.
Okay, and on that note, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Passes unanimously. Santa will be upset with us if we didn't pass that. Okay. Item number 2, consideration to approve a special event permit application submitted by Ryan Schuler, Sound Extreme Production, to close Green Street between Church Street and the Caulfield parking lot between 3 p.m. and 3 a.m. to host a Halloween event including live music Saturday, October 28th, 2017 between 8 p.m. and 11 p.m. and to allow the consumption of alcohol within a public street. Staff report.
Madam Mayor and members of the council, there's 2 parts to the item on this agenda that you need to consider. The first is the closure of Green Street, which is not a street that the staff has authority to close, so that action has to be taken by the council. And the second is the consumption of alcohol in a public place, which is allowed by Ordinance 827, which grants the council opportunity to allow that within public parks and within public streets, sidewalks, etc. That amendment took place about 2 years ago. The specifics of the request are described in the attached letter, but to summarize those, they want to hold a Halloween event that's been held at other locations in the past, here on Green Street, between Church, generally between Church and Stockton, but actually limited to the area of Church to the Caulfield parking lot, erect a tent, and have DJ music within the tent, dancing in a costume contest. And the music and the would occur between 8 and 11 p.m. The tent would remain in Green Street until the adjoining business, the Bourbon Barrel, closes, at which time it would be removed. In order to accommodate the activities, the street would close at 3 for setup, and the tent, the stage, the bars, and that kind of thing would be removed from the street after 1:30 until as late as 3 o'clock the next morning. The participants in the event could either be within the tent or within the business area and that would continue until the business actually closes at 1:30. But the music would end outside at 11 o'clock. The staff has reviewed this, and they've identified a number of conditions if the council were to allow it. That include the standard conditions of having the appropriate ABC license, the appropriate liability insurance. There are exit and no smoking sign requirements, fire extinguisher requirements, and occupancy posting is required by the fire department. The tent itself has to have a state fire marshal approval. There's a minimum security staffing of 3 individuals that would be working at the entrance-exit locations as required by the police department, as well as posting no alcohol signs at the exits as required by the police department. And then proper signage as far as for the road closure and detours is appropriate as directed by the Public Works Department. In addition to the letter, there's an exhibit that shows the closure locations, generally on a aerial view, which would be just at the south side of the Caulfield parking lot, adjacent to the beer garden area, and the intersection of Green and Church. And then the general layout of the tent and the entrance-exit locations north and south of the tent, as well as the entrance that goes into the Bourbon Barrel. And some of the required signage is also shown on that exhibit. So with those restrictions or conditions as proposed by staff's recommending that the council authorize the temporary closure on October 28th from 3 p.m. to 3 a.m. and allow the consumption of alcoholic beverages within the public right-of-way between the hours of 8 p.m. and 1:30 a.m.
Okay, questions or comments for staff by the council? None at this point? Okay. I noticed that the September 6th letter from Ryan Shore, the time was 7 p.m. to 12 a.m.
Based on yes, it has been changed, based on discussions with Mr. Schiller and his own internal discussions with his staff.
And then my second question is, when we have music down in Caulfield Park, does the city have a requirement as to what time we ask them to end the music?
Generally, no, we do not. The Caulfield Park events generally end at 10, as do the events that have occurred on Leineberg, as I recall. The city does not have a curfew for these kinds of events in place. It may be something you want to consider in the future. They did talk about wanting to have music until midnight, and based on my conversation and concerns, because of the adjoining neighbors, they adjusted their time to 11 o'clock.
Okay. And then the after whatever time the council decides to close, then the entertainment will continue in the Bourbon Barrel and not outside, correct?
There'll be music outside until 11,
okay.
But other entertainment can take place within the Bourbon Barrel until they close at 1:30.
Okay. And additionally, when we get to the alcoholic beverages, people will be able, based on this staff report, people will be able to continue in the tent area consuming possibly alcohol until 1:30 a.m., correct?
Yeah, as described, the tent would be used as an overflow area for that.
All right.
Subject to your approval or limitations.
Right. So I just wanted to make sure that we all understood, that I understood exactly what was being asked for. Okay. Any other comments or questions by the council? Okay, then I'm going to open it up for public comment.
Hi guys, I'm Gina. I am the business manager at Trado Corporation and also of the Bourbon Barrel. I have a little bit more detailed security and fire extinguisher layout that Ryan just recently sent me. I want to thank you guys for even considering us to do this. We are really trying to prove, show you guys what we can do in the means of bringing more of an active life back to Sonora. The tent will be completely inaccessible and you will not be able to see into it from outside areas. There will be a security guard at the front door on the three kind of backside points of the tent that will be facing Yosemite Tidal towards Stockton Street and Church Street. I'll have my bouncer at the door like normal inside the Bourbon Barrel that night, and then there will also be one security guard inside the tent itself. ABC is on board from what I understand. We've spoke. They allow us to do this so many times a year. They usually wait to hear back from you guys first to make sure that we're good with the city that we're in's eyes first. But we have a great working relationship with them, and we kind of have done a lot with them this far and have encountered no problems thus far.
Okay, any questions or comments for?
I happen to notice a bit of a difference between the map on the photograph and the map that you just handed out.
Yes.
And it's the point of where the street actually closes.
Yes.
One doesn't include that parking lot, one does.
One does. Ryan and I, upon later evaluation, think that it would be best to end it at the end of the Caulfield parking lot and leaving Bank of America's parking lot open because that's a very hot spot for parking and for all of downtown, not just for us that weekend.
So the Caulfield parking lot would be?
The Caulfield parking lot would be closed, but the Bank of America parking lot would remain open.
Okay. Would you have activities over in the Caulfield parking?
No, it would mostly be staff parking. And right now they have most of those parking spots up against the beer garden construction area actually fenced off. So there's really only they use it for tidal parking during the day, and most of the time there's not too many cars even in that lot.
Okay, so it'd be in essence, to be private parking for the event.
In essence, yes.
And
Okay, other questions or comments?
Is the ABC license, you have to get a special license because you're holding something outdoors.
I do.
And is that through Trado or is that through?
That's through Trado. That's through my liquor license at the Bourbon Barrel. It is, it goes through us to ABC. We're allowed to do it 4 times a year. And we have to just apply by their regulations, which are that we keep it closed to the public. We have so many security guards. We get the city's approval. We get law enforcement and fire's approval also for the event. And then they, as long as we do that, you have a working relationship. We have no penalties or anything on our background. So with all of that taken into consideration, they are going to go forward with it.
And consumption is limited strictly to those confines of the tent?
Of that tent, there will be no alcohol allowed outside. You can't take your drink from the tent into the Bourbon Barrel or vice versa. You have to finish in wherever you are, and then if you want to go into the next place, you have to be free and clear to walk through. Yeah, no problem. Thank you, guys.
Other questions? Councilmember Plummer?
It's been probably over a year since I've been in the Bourbon Barrel. It looks like on the map that it is some, say, almost 300% larger than what I was there.
He has, on the map, Ryan has included all of what is going to be the beer gardens, the former Stage 3 entrance, and the Bourbon Barrel in that space. So what it's really showing is that the tent is pretty much going to take up the space that from Church Street to just into the new construction area in Green Street.
The reason is because the Bourbon Barrel, I don't know what the capacity is, but since you're expecting 300 people.
Yes.
I was wondering where they all go. I presume that, of course, that everything is per code with the
yes.
fire.
I have a 49 occupancy in the Bourbon Barrel. So that is the reason why we are asking to bring this tent into play, is that it really, Ryan's been doing this for 17 years, and each place he goes outgrows or that place kind of changes dynamic, and Ryan and I have a lot of the same kind of customer base. We're shooting for the same people in attendance, and so our plan is that we kind of have this larger party in the tent during the day where most of my patrons will probably be in that tent. I will probably be pretty slow in the Bourbon Barrel. We will have the big dance party that will then end at 11. We will probably make last call in that tent area probably around 11:30 to 12, so that then nobody's looking to come back into the Bourbon Barrel. We're just kind of shutting things down out there. And then that little bit of area will have a quieter band playing in the Bourbon Barrel, and we'll do kind of an after party until the 1:30 when we have to shut everything down. So the plan is to just kind of do a trickle. We'll shut down one big one and kind of have the smaller bits come in, and then have it all be done by 1:30.
I imagine that the neighbors are really anticipating this event to see how
quiet we keep it. Yes.
And how much disturbance.
They all have my cell phone number. Let's just say that. They know how to get a hold of me.
It's experimental from both sides, obviously.
And really, again, that kind of touches back on how grateful we are that we're even getting the consideration, because as I've said, and I've stood here and said that to our neighbors, that we want to work with you guys. We want you guys to be happy. We want everybody to be happy. But downtown Sonora is this noisy place on certain nights. There's just certain nights where you hear the football game until, late at night from all around, and it's part of Sonora. But it is time to maybe evolve a little bit and to change, and for us all to grow together. And like I said, they know how to get a hold of me, and we've been able to have music in the Bourbon Barrel and have plays and other activities going on next door, and so we have been able to kind of adapt ourselves to where we are and making everybody as happy as we can.
So my question is there a capacity limit on the tent?
There will be.
Yes, there is, and it's all coming from Porter Rents. It's all the fire marshal approved tents and whatnot that are set up and pre-approved by professionals with insurance to be doing all of these things too.
So then, when you reach the capacity for the tent and the bourbon barrel, then the security people won't allow anybody else in?
Exactly. I have clickers, and that is part of being the doorman, is you have to be able to use those clickers accurately. And we like to keep a solid 10 under where we're going, because there's always going to be staff. There's always going to be somebody who's in the bathroom and we can't accommodate for, so these guys are trained to be there, to stand there and make sure that these regulations are upheld.
Well, my concern will be noise, will be very much noise. Even if the band's not playing in the tent.
Right.
People out there talking, drinking until 1:30 in the morning. I'm not so, I think that's a little bit, personally, I think it's a little bit late. We haven't allowed anybody to do anything after 10 o'clock at night in downtown Sonora for a special event, so this would be stepping outside a little bit, but that would be my main concern, is the noise for the residents who live in the area. And yes, I live clear up on Morningstar, and I hear the noise from the football field, but they don't go until 1:30 in the morning. So anyway, okay. Other public, let's see, is it time? Any other questions or comments by the council before I open it for public comment?
Connie, may I address what you just said? We would be willing to negotiate something like making last call in the tent at 11:30 and making sure that that was closed down by midnight. I think that would be a fair compromise, where that means that the noise is really going to be done with the outside drinking and chatter by midnight. So we're willing to compromise on that, because I agree with you. I know that is the biggest hurdle. The biggest hurdle is noise and being respectful of everybody who's trying to coexist in that area.
Well, obviously, I think that we all want things to happen in downtown Sonora.
Yeah.
And that is what gives life to the community. But we don't want, but anyway.
Yes.
So, other questions or comments by the council?
Not yet.
Okay, then public comment. Oh, sorry, Councilmember Plummer. Go.
I think that it would behoove us to take her up on that offer to close at midnight, to shut it down by then. While it's on the table, I think that would probably, for a first event, be a good move for the neighbors and the community. And, I mean, we can work our way into 1:30 closures for bars and stuff, but for the tent, I think that's going to be loud and raucous, and, I mean, I would be.
So if you want to consider that in your motion, in the recommendation, just change the time that's in the recommendation from 1:30 to midnight.
Okay. Other comments by council or questions?
No, after public.
Okay. Then I'm going to open it up for public comment.
I just have to say, I have an Airbnb downtown, and so noise would be an issue for me as well. And I know if I were having guests, it would be hard for me to say definitely 1:30 would be really hard to swallow. 12 o'clock could be a good one to try it, but I would be comfortable more like 11:30 or 11. But just because I have guests, and I don't know what you told the neighbors before about the bourbon barrel. I don't know what you guys all agreed to when you said there would be outdoor music there, and what they're expecting to happen in the future as far as what time things are going to end, but maybe that needs to be remembered. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other public comment?
Well, I only saw the agenda. I didn't see the supporting documentation. So this agenda says it's an application from Ryan Scheller. But apparently that's not true, and it's really an application for Trado. using Ryan Scheller. So how many exceptions are we going to make? Everybody was all over the tap room about not allowing cups and whatever out on the street, and they had to shut down, and now we're saying, well, I guess it's okay if you drink on a public street, and yeah, it's going to be okay if we go later. So either the rules are going to be the same for everybody, or they're not. And this is not starting till 8. Well, it's October. Why can't it start at 7? And end a little earlier, because I don't like the rules being changed for certain people, and other people are getting a lot of grief when they kind of adhere to the rules. And then, you know, they had an event this weekend, and I saw people on Stockton Road wandering all over the street. I saw them with beer bottles, and I saw them with the red cups. I don't know if that had the wine or the mixed drinks or whatever, and they were out walking around with that stuff. And then I saw the mess that was on Washington Street the next day. So there was blood on the street in front of the office. I found like 3 or 4 broken glasses, and there was like trash and debris everywhere. So that concerns me, and I'm not in favor of giving any one particular group exceptions every time we turn around. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? And I'll bring it back to the council.
I'm glad to see the investment going back into downtown. I like quiet just as much as anybody, regardless of my age. I like quiet just as much as anybody, but I do want to say that the majority, I would imagine the majority of the people that will be coming to this get-together will probably be millennials or later Xers, if I'm correct.
The 30 to 40 AI approach. And just to clear things up first, this is actually Ryan using us. Ryan has not been able to find a venue that works for him where he is actually able to do this. We have done a few things in the past where we have collaborated together. We really trust Ryan's judgment on things like that, or we probably wouldn't allow anybody to even try. We would be doing this solely by ourselves, but Ryan needs a venue and we want to be able to give him this. And maybe, you know, Murphy's has the pub crawls and these things where we get people dressed up and out there in the streets doing stuff, and we would like to see something like that come to downtown Sonora. And I agree with you. I think that we need to find the right time. We need to find what time it is that is too loud or not too loud, and make sure that we're making everybody happy. I mean, and we want to see a better, we want to see, you know, our tax-paying citizens of Sonora who have kids in our high schools, and, you know, we want to see them have something to do on the weekends that's not just sit around, you know.
And I also understand Ryan is in Tennessee, or you're not be here?
Ryan is actually in Las Vegas.
Las Vegas.
Yes.
Yeah.
I spoke with him last night. He is good. He is checked into his hotel and everything is fine on his end. He's actually there for a productions event. But yeah, he's kind of offline today. He will be back soon. He's got so much stuff going on that he asked me. It was actually myself and my colleague Tiffany Phillips were going to come and present this to you guys in favor of him. And then because he's using our liquor license in our space, then it kind of comes down on to me to make sure that he's staying within those regulations to make sure that nothing happens to my liquor license.
Where did Ryan hold this event last year?
I believe last year was at the Rawhide. And that didn't, yeah, in Jamestown. And that, I'll leave it up to Ryan to explain how that didn't work out. How about that?
Again, like I said, I like to see the reinvestment, obviously respecting the neighbors.
For sure.
It's in Trado's best interest to make sure the neighbors are happy and the city is happy and things are picked up.
Yes.
Because it's in Trado's best interest to hold something like this on a, I don't know, annual, semi-annual, semi-regular basis.
Exactly.
But, you know, obviously we need to make people happy too. So, because people live in the city, just like, I mean, I live right downtown.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
I'll hear
it. Exactly.
So, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing how this works out. I think midnight is something that is very
Well, and once, I mean, in all honesty, once last call is made, things begin to kind of end. People take their last drinks and it starts to trickle out. So really, midnight would be the last few people where we're really pushing them to get out. And I also think that as far as taking down the tent, once people are out of it, we're going to start taking it down. Just because it's too much of an impediment for everybody at that point. And then if that means that we take the street closure signs down too, whatever agreement we make then too, we can get it opened back up by at least 1:30 instead of the 3 o'clock time span.
Anything else? Any other comments?
Actually, I would like to comment on the tap house comment too. I work very closely with Nayland and Carrie over there, and my hope was that if we could get you guys to approve it for us and we could prove to you guys that this can be done in a safe and happy environment, that might actually give them a chance to be able to do some of the things that they're hoping to do in their area too. We're all about the growth of Sonora. We want everybody to succeed and we want everybody to be able to pushing themselves to the potential that they have in this area and with our customer bases. And I see great potential with them too. So all of this is meant to support everybody in downtown.
Okay. Any other questions for Gina? Okay.
Thank you guys very much for your time.
Any other public comment? Please come up to the podium. No, I need you, if you're going to comment, please come up to the podium. Then that way we've got you recorded.
Just a question. Is that the same day of trick or treat?
October the 28th?
Yeah.
Is that trick or treat night?
No.
No.
It's the week before.
It's the evening of the zombie walk. Trick or treat street is.
I think it's in here.
21st.
Yeah. So no.
It's not a Saturday before?
It is a Saturday, but it's not when we do trick or treat street
It's not
in downtown Sonora.
Okay. That's only the question.
Okay. All right. If there's no other public comment, then I'm going to bring it back to the council, and I'm going to make a comment because, you know, being on this council for the number of years I've been here, Second Saturday would like to be able to do wine in their businesses. The Sonora pub would like to do alcohol outside their door. Whatever we do tonight is going to set a precedent for what anybody's going to be able to come and request. So remember that. The other thing is, I think the council should take into consideration that right now we have nothing set for curfew. This is a tourist town, and we do have residents, so that should be taken into consideration. I will say right now that I will be 100% against closing off the city parking lot. That's a city parking lot. It's open to anybody that comes down to the city of Sonora, and unless somebody's going to, I just don't think it's the right thing to do to close it down. I think it would be more beneficial if the street closure was at the end of the Trado property, so that people could park close or to the venue.
Madam Mayor, let me ask the police chief to come up. Drew, can you come up for a minute? There was an initial submittal, and the staff had requested a modification to that, which resulted in the exhibit that's in your packet, which shows the closure at the south side of the Coffle parking lot, next to where the building is. Mm-hmm. So they're now suggesting, Drew, that, or Chief, that closure be moved back up to the property line between the B of A parking lot and the city parking lot. Wasn't the moving it to the far side of the city parking lot based on your discussion with Ryan Schiller, that modification was made?
Yeah, in the discussion of I believe leaving some turnaround areas in the Bank of America lot, if we're blocking off a street, and access for law enforcement, emergency services, to come in from Stockton Road.
Okay, so to leave that street, to leave Green Street open enough that if there was an emergency, that the emergency vehicles could get closer to the tent area? Or are the emergency vehicles going to use the city parking lot?
Both, little both, and as well as just regular traffic being able to turn around in that parking lot as well. There's going to be some congestion, and the more space they have, it would make sense, the less congestion we end up with.
I don't understand, I'm sorry, but how can there be more congestion? There's only so many parking lots in the city parking lot.
I'm talking about traffic pulling in and wondering where to go and try to find parking and end up having to turn around and leave.
Oh.
I mean, they're driving in, the parking lot's full, so they gotta
driving
make
out.
some sort of turnaround to get out of there.
Yes, sir.
Whereas the B of A parking lot is much more spacious and easier to maneuver in and out of.
It does seem that way, yes.
Well, I still have a problem with closing off the city parking lot. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry, because I do have a problem with it.
Let me take a look at. So the chief just confirmed that his concern is that the closure not impede access to the B of A lot, but it does not necessarily have to go all the way as far down as the city parking lot. So he's all right with the submittal that was presented tonight?
The original submittal.
No, the one tonight's okay, from his perspective.
Okay.
Well, I can see those parking spots getting filled up fast no matter who has access to them. And then you're going to have a whole bunch of people trying to get in there and park. And then trying to back out, and then, yeah, I can see that.
And through the B of A lot, and circulate through that lot.
Right, you can just turn in and make a big loop and come out.
It's a lot safer to me.
Yeah. Well, and then, well, are we?
I brought it back to the council, public comments over with, so we're ready for a motion
Or discussion?
or more discussion.
Okay, that's.
Or a motion and then more discussion, whatever you guys determine.
It was mentioned that, well, first of all, we're talking about setting precedents. We've already set a precedent for open container when we allow the streets to be used for open container during the roundup after the parade. So, although this isn't directly a precedent, I mean, this isn't directed toward a business, but we do have done that for an event. We did that a couple meetings ago. Regarding the, and also this will be, the open container would be inside a tent, as opposed to if there was an open container in some of these other areas which are not enclosed in tents. So I mean, so you can argue different ways on this. It's, I guess, the point that was saying, but I'm not sure that we're actually setting a precedent. Regarding the closing of the parking lot, what's it, 12 spaces probably now, right now?
It's half of what was there, so maybe 14, 12 to 14.
14 spaces. We do close parking lots for other events. we just did earlier. And not all of them are event-wide parking lot closures. Some are for a specific event. So that's really not really setting a precedent either. I do think it may be best to stop the what happens in the tent at midnight. Just because of the all the stuff going on, and see how that works out. You know, at first I wasn't. It really didn't register with me, mainly because we allow the bars to. You go to the back of the office. That's open area. People are back there at times on a busy night, yelling and screaming, and that's going right out in the atmosphere. It's just private property. You know, it's not like, I mean, there will be other businesses that can make noise up until that time and later, till noon, till 2, actually. So, but maybe for this particular event, we should err on the side of caution. But if we're, you know, we should make the rules apply to everybody, whether they're using the public streets or the private open area, if we're going to, you know, if we're going to have a rein in on the noise and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, it's a little unfair to say when you can, when you can't. I mean, regardless of whether it's the Bourbon Barrel, you know, it could have been any other business that wanted to do this. I mean, it could have been the tap room on Lindenberg Street asking to do exactly this. So it's not like one group is getting a free pass or whatever. Anyone can apply for it. They just, I guess they just thought of it, as opposed to the others, you know, or thought they'd try it or whatever. So, so there are my thoughts.
Okay. Any other comments?
Well, go ahead. Age before beauty. I don't think this is precedent setting either. I think we've had similar events in the past with the Motherlode Roundup, open containers on the streets. Actually, that's completely different than what we're doing here, which is a confined area for the event. And I think that's, I think, like you say, anybody can apply for that. And if the tap room would like to do something like that, that's fine. I do agree with the time change. I think we do have residents that we need to be respectful of. This is kind of an experiment, in my opinion, at this point. I think we're pushing the envelope a little bit, but that's good. One thing I hear about Sonora from mostly younger folks is that there's nothing to do in downtown Sonora after 6 o'clock, you know, nothing to do. Well, this is going to be an event for something to do, and hopefully it'll work out. And I think, you know, I'm looking at it as an experiment. If it works out, and I'm sure you guys are going to do the best you can to keep it within the confines, and so that it will be successful. We've got a young entrepreneur here in Sonora that's been very successful in events in his business, and I would like to see him continue on. I think he's doing a good job here. Thank you.
Okay. Other comments or a motion?
First comments. I get up pretty early, and I presume there are a fair number of residents who do. Is it on?
It is on, but pull it closer. There you go.
Yes. All right. So, to me, midnight is really pushing the envelope as far as experimental. Obviously, it behooves the applicant to make to work as much with their crowd and their business, where everybody, by and large, will welcome another such event, and hopefully we will be able to see more of these, but we have to respect those people living there who have no alternative. To some degree, the comment about the back of one of the bars, you said it's often very loud.
Can be.
I'm not familiar with that, but just football games are often annoying. But by the same token, they were there when I moved in, and it's probably a consideration for the local neighbors that none of that was there. There was a little bit of the theater crowd that probably was done most of the time by 11, and I think 12 is kind of the outer limit right now for starting, and then we'll see if we catch an earful from everybody on that street. We'll probably reconsider the next time around, but I think this is a good starting point. And with such, I will make a motion to approve the special event permit application submitted by Ryan Schellers on Extreme Production, proposed, et cetera.
And with the changes.
So go to
the closure of the tent part of the event by midnight.
So let's, just to be clear, if I could help, for the street closure to occur between 3 p.m. Saturday and 1:30 a.m. Sunday, and the alcohol consumption between the hours of 8 p.m. at midnight Saturday.
For the tent.
For the tent area.
Yes.
He's only asking for 8 to 11.
No, that's the music.
Pardon me?
That's the music, is between 8 and 11.
Music, okay.
Do we necessarily need to change the setup?
Yes.
Or not setup time, but the takedown time?
If they've agreed that they, yes, I would. They're gonna quit serving alcohol by midnight and have the facilities down by 1:30.
Passable through. Passable through the traffic.
That's what Gina had indicated to the council.
I so move.
Okay, just to be clear, the music will be from 8 to 11. The serving of alcohol in the tent until midnight, and clean up by 1:30 in the morning. Is that
Yes.
is that what the motion is? Okay.
What about the closure of Ridge Street, changing the...
It's from 3 p.m. to 1:30 a.m.
No, the point of closure.
Oh, the north end of the parking lot as proposed.
I would keep the closure the same as proposed here between the Bank of America parking lot and the city parking lot. While I respect the mayor's reticence for that, I think that it's been explained that that's best for traffic flow and public safety.
I'll second that motion.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, why, the difference between 1:30 and 3 a.m. in the morning on Sunday seems, gives them extra time to clean up. It's not going to be a whole lot of traffic going through there at that early in the morning on Sunday morning, I wouldn't think. I'm not sure why we need to be so strict on the change, and maybe
It would eliminate a later hour for loading equipment, removing the stage, taking the tent down, other noises that would disrupt the neighborhood.
Okay, all right.
There's going to be banging and things that drop.
There you go. Okay.
Thank you.
Heavy diesel trucks.
Any other comments? Any other public comment? Then I'll bring it back to the council for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. One thing that I would like to ask the council to do, based upon this approval, that we have something created to set these type of boundaries, or that if in fact, so the next time someone comes and asks to close something, that we already have it set that with council approval, the timeline, et cetera. Is that something that this council is interested in doing?
I believe that would be a worthy discussion.
Do you mean
Having it agendized for a discussion.
You mean setting policy of when, for stuff like when to stop music, when to stop
Right.
serving, if
Yes.
you're using it, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful.
Yeah.
But we'll see, we'll wait till after the event.
I was going to say, we might have a lot
'Cause
of
that-
input
That might
afterwards that
help
would be
inform the council.
valuable and helpful in forming our opinions.
Exactly.
Okay.
Shall we set a time to agendize that after the,
We'll bring it back. I mean, it'll take some time to develop some recommendations, and
right.
once we, so I would agree with the council comments. This does not set a precedence. These are all one-off requests that we've been considering, whether it's for the tap room and the closure of Linerberg, or whether it's for Second Saturday in Coffle Park, or whether it's an event like this, which is the first one of these that the city's considered approving. And they all, the issues that need to be considered are the closures themselves, the hours for consumption, the types of alcohol you allow to be consumed, how late the events can occur. I mean, cities often set curfews in situations like this, so that's what we can come back and talk about. And this will be an experiment, as George described, to see how these times and hours work, at least at this location. So.
Well, I appreciate that, and but as I said before, we do want to see things happening in downtown Sonora, and this will be an experiment for this type of a event. But during these discussions, I'd like to even have the council consider Second Saturday and the bringing back of the opportunity to have the wine in the businesses, et cetera, and maybe even on the sidewalk. So, because that'll help bring people to downtown Sonora as
Madam
well.
Mayor, that's a whole separate.
I understand that.
And some of that state.
Okay.
That's all right. We're gonna bring it up. Okay, item number 3. Consideration to award the bid for the Ed Center re-roof and exterior rehab project to Harris Builders Incorporated in the amount of $167,530, and authorize the city administrator to execute the contract and related documents for the project.
Thank you. Before you tonight is a bid award that we are requesting, and it has to do with the former education center that is now leased to the Sheriff's Department for their investigative unit, located at 326 North Washington Street. This facility was originally purchased using redevelopment funds and remodeled using CDBG funds to create the education center that was at that location. And that all occurred at the same time that the city was purchasing the current Public Works facility, as well as the parking lot that is now leased by the Sonora High School. When it was renovated, at the time they did not put a new roof on it, but they did do some repairs. But due to its age and condition, we do feel that it's time that we need to get a roof on that building and some other repairs that were included in the bid. The project's plans and specifications were prepared by Aspirin Street Architects. We contracted with them to do that and to prepare the scope of work for the project. The two items, or the items that are part of the project, is to remove the existing roof, sheathing, flashing and damaged roof siding boards, and trim and replace with new materials. And the siding is to be replaced by a light material, and the roof is to be a 26-gauge steel roof. And also the repainting in the exterior of the building. We did that as an additive alternate, and staff is recommending that we include that as part of the project, as part of our award of the bid. The notice to bidders was released on September 8th, and we received 2 bids. The bid closing was the 27th of September. We received a bid from Royce Construction for a total bid, including the additive alternate of the painting, of $280,000. And the other bid that we received was from Harris Builders, Inc. at $167,530. We do find that Harris Builders is the responsible low bidder, and we are recommending approval. We are also recommending that we use the Deferred Revenue Fund, which is 303-023-47001, with a current balance of $178,928. These funds were generated from the rent that is generated from this building. So all of the rent that was generated through the building was put into this Deferred Revenue Fund. We were anticipating and hoping that the bids would come in lower. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. So there were 3 additional projects that we were planning to use some of that money for that we are recommending the following. One is that we had included in there $15,000 to complete the zoning update and the general plan update that we're currently working on. We're going to absorb that in the community development budget. I think between Paul and I will be fine without having those extra expenditures, as well as the CEQA document that you guys are approving. It is an exempt project, so we didn't have the filing fees at the state level. And that's what we're proposing to you guys. The other is $20,000 for the Stewart Street restroom project. We are going to recommend that the funding, if it's funded through the proceeds from the sale of the Rule 20A credits, that should be included with that, part of that funding. And then the $16,000 to repaint the former Visitors Bureau building, we're recommending we revisit that in the springtime and see what funding sources we might be able to utilize at that time, depending on what the city's budget looks like in the spring. It's important, staff feels it's very important that we do this project to preserve the building and to stop any further damage that could occur. So we are recommending that you approve or that you award the bid to Harris Builders, Inc., and that you authorize the city administrator to execute the contract and any related documents for the full base total bid of $167,530. And I can answer any questions that you guys might have.
Okay, questions or comments by the council?
How old is that building?
I have no idea. I'm sorry, I didn't know. That wasn't a question I expected, so I'm not prepared. It's old 1930s, you think, maybe, or older? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe even older.
Maybe
it's the old
older.
H&E warehouse.
Yeah. It was an administration building for them, too, so.
Cool.
Okay. Since there's no questions or comments, any public comment? Then I'll bring it back to the council for a motion.
I move we approve to award the bid for the Ed Center re-roof and exterior rehabilitation project to Harris Builders in the amount of $167,530. And authorize the city administrator to execute the contract and related documents for the project.
Second.
Okay, any other conversation by the council? If not, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye.
Including the budget adjustments that were described.
Yes, including.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Okay. Consideration to authorize the city administrator execute agreements with Sonora School District, Sonora Union High School, Tuolumne County Superintendent of Schools, and Mother Lode Adventist Junior Academy for School Resource Officer Services. Staff report.
Hello, good evening. The police department's been providing SRO services for a few years now, most recently as part of our SB 109 or AB 109 grant funds. So those are monies that are restricted to certain uses. The city had approval to utilize those for SRO money, SRO purposes, and started SRO services this year at the start of the school year. In early to mid-September, we got notification from the Central San Joaquin Valley Risk Management Authority, which is a joint powers authority that we are a member of, and we receive all of our liability, workers' comp, property insurance through that joint powers authority. The notification that was sent out was that for agencies providing SRO services, we needed to have contracts in place with specific indemnity language. We didn't have that kind of agreement in place, so the chief worked with the schools. They ceased providing SRO services until we could get the contracts in place. The Sonora School District has returned theirs, signed and ready for execution. So that's in your staff report as attachment A. There's 3 other schools that we provide services to: Sonora Union High School, Tuolumne County Superintendent of Schools, and the Mother Lode Adventist Junior Academy. As of today, I don't believe those 3 have returned their agreements yet, but we'd like to ask for authority to execute the attached agreement that's been returned. And then once the other 3 have been returned, to execute those, and that way we can begin providing services again as soon as we receive them, rather than waiting until the next council meeting to bring them back individually. All the agreements are the same with the exception of the school that the service is being provided to, and we don't have much choice in the language. It has to be in there, so they either accept it and get services back or not.
Okay, questions, comments for staff?
We have enough personnel to cover all this with all the other schools?
With the AB 109 funds specifically for the SRO, we're using it specifically for the SRO. We dedicate that one person to the SRO function. So it would not take personnel from the streets to address those functions.
Comments?
I had was a little typo on the agreement itself, where it said Sonora Unified School District. There was a line out in the Unified. Well, the very next line says a California Unified School District, and that wasn't lined out. So none of our districts that we're going to make an agreement with are unified. So I just want to make sure you caught that. Very first line, or very second line, third line. Third line down in the first paragraph, at the very end.
Okay.
There's one unified marked out and one not, so I'm just saying.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Councilmember Plummer?
Chief, so do I understand correctly that we have just one person that rotates among the schools?
Yes, currently Officer Gordon Wynn, part-time, and he's assigned to the SRO function. And he'll go from school to school.
I'm just curious.
Based on the need. Sometimes there's special functions or special activities that he will schedule ahead of time and make sure he's there for that. But he generally, if there's nothing going on, he'll just go from school to school, campus to campus, and exactly.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments by the council? Any public comment?
Well, I spoke with the officer last week, and I know that those kids love him, and he does a really great job. However, when I go to these meetings, I'm going to advise them not to sign this, because I want someone to further explain to me the language and the indemnity, because he's a city employee, and I'm assuming I don't know what all you have, licensure and the gun training and all that stuff is certified by the city. So I don't understand why some school district would take 100% of the liability. So if someone can please explain that to me, because I wouldn't sign that if I was a school district. He's a city employee.
Just for clarification, if the district elects not to sign the agreement, we won't provide the service, because without the indemnification clause, we will not have insurance coverage for those activities. And we cannot, and I will not, put the city at risk to provide that service without coverage. And if they don't want to provide that coverage, then we won't provide the service.
Okay.
When we received the proposed contract, we contacted the JPA, and a history behind this is there was an incident that stemmed out of a city in the valley where the SRO had an incident at a school, and it was very costly for the city, and that's what stemmed this with the Joint Powers Authority. So it's not something we have control over. We just can't provide it, and we won't have coverage if we don't do these agreements.
All right, let's see. Public comment is still open. Any other public comment? Then I'll bring it back to the council for a motion or more conversation.
I would like to thank staff for making it abundantly clear that it is for us an either-or situation. Well, for the schools, it's an either-or situation, and they are not compelled to sign the agreement or to sign the contract, but they will have to provide any police service on their own.
Was there a date they were supposed to get back to us? Their legal people are probably still reviewing the contract. So if other contracts come in, then you'll be bringing that to the council.
With the authority you grant tonight, yes.
Okay.
My kids love seeing the police come to the school, especially my oldest. Absolutely love it.
Good. All right. I think it's a good thing to see
A very good thing.
the authorities there on the school campus. All right. Do we have a motion?
I will move to authorize the city administrator to execute agreements with Sonora School District, Sonora Union High School, Tuolumne County Superintendent of Schools, and Mother Lode Adventist Junior Academy for school resource officer services.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any other conversation? Then I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Okay, we will move on to item number 5, consideration to authorize the city administrator to execute an agreement with the city of Half Moon Bay to transfer $400,000 in Rule 20A credits in exchange for $200,000 and adopt resolution number 10-02-17-B authorizing PG&E to transfer $400,000 of Rule 20A credits to Half Moon Bay. Staff report.
Thank you. This item we discussed 2 weeks ago and is back a little earlier than we thought. Half Moon Bay reached out to us and asked if we could come as soon as possible. Their council meeting is tomorrow night. So if you approve this tonight, they will let their council know that during their staff presentation. And that would expedite processing this sooner rather than later. So they received a final number. They would like to purchase $400,000 in our credits. Again, we have about $1.2 million, so we'd have substantial money left to do some piece of a project that we could identify later in exchange for $200,000 in cash. If you approve this tonight, the process will be that both cities have already vetted the agreement. That's attachment A, so that would be executed. And then the resolution in attachment B will be provided to PG&E along with a letter on our stationery indicating that the council authorized the sale or the transfer of the credits to Half Moon Bay. And so if you have any questions.
Questions or comments for staff? Seeing none, I'll ask for public comment. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the council for a motion.
Before I move for approval, the only question I had asked of me from constituents was, why don't we just use that $400,000 for some undergrounding? Let's get our underground going. And I asked them, do you know how far that $400,000 would go for undergrounding? I forget the distance, but it wasn't very far, right?
400 feet.
400 feet.
More or less.
Yeah. So that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but this does. So I'll move approval of exchanging the credits of $400,000 to $200,000, adopting resolution 10-02-17-B, authorizing PG&E to transfer $400,000 to Rural 20A credits to Half Moon Bay.
We'll second that.
Okay, any other discussion? Then I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. All right. Item 6, consideration to adopt resolution number 10-02-17-C, amending the fiscal year 2017-18 operating budget to include a new capital project to install centerline striping and street markings on various city streets to be funded by SB1 funds.
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of the council, I distributed to you prior to your meeting a copy of a staff report. There's copies here for the public if they would like a copy. In summary, the staff report describes SB1 and how the city receives funding through that program, and it's through the increases in taxes on fuel, whether it's gas or diesel, vehicle registration taxes, and other fees that would be applied. In order to receive funding, the city needs to maintain its maintenance of effort, which is what our average expenditures on street projects have been, and that's described as well in the report. The average for the years that were affected is $396,000. Based on our latest street report, we indicate a $448,000 contribution to street work. Further goes on to describe the types of projects that are eligible, and to get down to the nuts and bolts of it, the city is anticipating $27,702 this year, not a significant amount of money, and approximately $80,000 next year, and then it continues to increase year over year. So with the limited funding that's available, a project that staff is proposing is the reestablishing centerline markings and street markings on various streets throughout the city. That's included in Attachment A to Resolution 10-02-217C. The process is pretty well defined on what we need to do to make our request, and that is to have a resolution, describe the project, the time frame, the cost, the life expectancy of the project, and we've done all that in the staff report and in the resolution. The streets we're suggesting that we do the striping on are most of the major streets are most of the major streets in town, including Snell, Stewart, Lyons, Monoway, Sanguinetti Road, Saratoga Road, and Guzzy Lane. If you've driven those streets, you know that the center line has basically been worn off. We would use thermoplastic instead of paint, and we would do as much of the other street markings, such as stop bars and those limit lines and those kinds of things that we had money for on those streets that have been identified. The project would be developed in, let's see, in the spring of next year and completed by summer of next year. So with that, I'd recommend that you adopt Resolution 10-02-2017C. And in next year's, as we develop next year's budget, we'll actually put these capital projects within the budget based on what we expect to receive in terms of the SB1 funds. So happy to answer any questions the council may have.
Okay, council members, any questions or comments?
Yeah, I do, actually. The condition of Snell Street, is not the greatest, shall we say. In certain areas, I'm wondering if we expect to repave in the near future, and would it be wise to either just paint it and not thermoplast it to save money? I'm trying to think of...
Yeah, it's not scheduled for an overlay anytime in the near future. We have done some repairs, and there's additional repairs needed out there. Given that we might do some overlay work in the near future, maybe that would be a good something to look at when we put the bid package together.
Yeah. Isn't thermoplast like on the order of 3 or 4 times the amount of paint or something?
No, I don't know the cost variance.
All I know is thermoplast.
It is more, it's more expensive. It's a durable, heat-applied plastic-type material instead of paint.
Right, and it lasts longer.
And it lasts longer.
It'd be kind of unwise to
So,
go for it.
yeah, we'll look at that one.
Okay, other questions or comments? Go ahead.
It sounds to me like we are doing this in addition to our regular work just because we will have a little bit of extra money available. Is that correct?
It's work that's been needed for some time. SB1 does provide additional funds for additional repairs and maintenance, street maintenance work that we don't have presently. The money we do have, we've committed to overlay work on Mona Way between Sanguinetti and Beretta as an extension of the Mona Greenlee intersection project. There will be some funds left in our highway users tax account, but not a significant amount of money when we get done with that project. So it gives us an opportunity to do some maintenance work that otherwise would be continued to be deferred.
So going forward, where we're expecting something on the nature of 80,000 the following year, next year, because money's fungible, does that free up some money in other areas for the general fund, or is...
No, it's got to be...
This is our, the MOE, the...
Maintenance of effort.
Maintenance of effort, where we're committed to the roughly 400,000 regardless, and then this is whatever we can do on top of that?
Let's see. You have to, in order to be eligible for the money, you have to maintain that level, that MOE level going forward. There is increasing, this provides additional funds beyond the highway users tax and gas tax funds that we currently receive. So the total available funds for road improvements and maintenance and repairs will increase incrementally over the next few years as these taxes increase and additional monies become available. I didn't look at it long term, 3 or 4 years out to see how much more it will be, but it will increase the amount of funds available for road repairs and maintenance, but it has to be dedicated to those purposes. And I expect we'll have to go through the same or similar process, identifying the specific projects year by year, how they're going to be done and when they're going to be done, in order to continue to receive funding in the future.
Okay, maybe I guess I wasn't clear in my own mind and wasn't clear in...
It's not going to free up general fund money, no.
Okay, but so we have to keep on ponying up what we would have anyway if this didn't exist for our maintenance of effort. And this comes in on top of that if we continue our maintenance of effort. If we don't, then
we would not,
because we don't qualify.
Then we would not be eligible. That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
They make it real simple, don't they?
Yeah, for $27,000.
For 20?
I just wanted to know if going forward we have a little more additional money, but obviously it's designed just to improve our streets.
That was the whole point of that bill.
Yes. SB1 is 100% for road repair and accountability act. So it sounds like it's for roads.
We need it.
Okay, $27,702 for the first year. Will we be putting this out for bid, or will
Yeah, in some fashion.
Okay.
I mean, we'll develop a scope of work and solicit it to firms that do street striping and that kind of thing.
All right. Any other questions or comments by the council?
So it's estimated that this lasts 3 to 5 years, is that estimated?
That's my estimate.
That's yours. I agree with Jim Snell. That street needs to be overlaid as soon as possible, but I don't see it within the next couple of years.
Well, when we bring the budget back, you'll have the what we usually get in gas tax funds, which is about $100,000. We get another $80,000. Won't be enough to do Snell, but we'll see what we can accomplish with it. It was on the list to be paved a number of years ago, and the council then decided not to do an overlay out there.
Okay. All right. Any other comments or questions?
See how your decisions could affect the future? Our previous debate.
That's true.
Okay, so, I'm sorry, was there a motion or no?
No, not yet. We haven't even had public comment yet. So, okay, any other questions or comments by the council? Any public comment?
Well, from reading the newspaper and the law, it's my understanding that if we didn't get this money, this wouldn't get done. So I think this is a fabulous idea. However, Snell is so crummy that I wouldn't bother to put street striping on because you have to drive to avoid all the potholes, which Bill Selden did try to fill after I complained because one of them must have been this deep and this big. But I would start with Stewart Street because there's some stop lines and the word stop is gone and that street's dangerous. But I think I would put off on Snell, and I think it's going to need more than just an overlay.
Well, the street list does include Stewart Street. So, okay. Any other public comment? Then I'll bring it back to the council for a motion.
I'll move to adopt Resolution 10.02-17-C.
I'll second it.
Okay, any other discussion? Then I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Passes unanimously. Okay, item number 7 is Level 1 Web Design Presentation of New City Website. Staff report.
They get bonus points, too, for sitting back there through this whole meeting.
Yes.
So as you know, we selected Level 1 as our consultant to work on the new website. We have Craig Cedarquist here and also Thomas J. Working through with them to work on the new the new site was a working group, and that included Tim, myself, Jen, Amy, Sheila, and Kim Campbell. So we all worked with them as they went through. In May, we received some mock-up versions of this colors and design of the overall website and theme, and we selected an overall design and color, and then they began the content development for the site. So they're going to show you the draft website as it stands today. We are looking at getting it launched. Our old website is deteriorating as we speak, and getting it launched, start working with it. The next step will be tonight. You'll take a look at it, any comments that you have. We're still working on some of the content, but we're almost there. Then it'll go up. We'll start working with it. They'll train staff on how to maintain it. We'll have 3 staff members that can do anything they want with the website. And then each department will have a staff person assigned, except for the PD, because the PD has their own website. A staff person assigned that will be responsible for updating their sections of the website. So that's where we are. It's exciting, and we hope that you like it. And I'm going to sit down now.
And the site, you'll be able to view this. You'll be able to view the website at new.sonoraca.com. Because tonight we're going to be presenting on the screen here, so the display isn't optimal. But at least, for a large group like this, it works best. But the colors aren't really true to the website. But let me go ahead and...
One more time, it can be viewed on new.sonoraca.com.
That's correct.
And actually, is it possible?
Oh, yeah.
Great, thank you. That actually would help, so things don't get washed out.
Yeah, I believe it's going on now. The internet just went down. Is there a setting?
The internet just went down?
Yeah, I don't have an internet connection. It could be.
Should have been tied to the Wi-Fi.
Let's try again.
You can see what sites are available. It's been sitting here this whole time.
Oh, looks like it just came back.
Oh, good.
Okay, there we go. And this monitor is a little bit smaller than kind of your average, but still we'll be able to get a decent view. And on the home page, what we did is up in this top area here, we just have some images scrolling in, kind of going from new to historical photos.
Those will scroll.
Yeah, they automatically scroll through. But if a user wants to come and say they want to see number 2 again, they can also go back to that. And then scrolling down, we have the welcome message. And then some of the major portions of the website where they could actually click through to go directly to them. Going down a little further, we have right here for the city council agendas, when they have that prominent. This is also prominent in the top navigation and bottom navigation, so you can always get to that really quick. And then below that, we have 3 different columns of news. We have general Sonora news, public notices, and upcoming Sonora events.
And if you notice, the text looks like Latin, is because it's just kind of placeholder text at the moment for some of those articles.
And then we have a compact menu at the bottom, but we have some of the major parts of the website. Up in the top menu, and I'll show you that. From in here, we have visiting, then business, and city government. And what I'll do is I'll just go right into the visiting in downtown Sonora. Of course. And then on this page, just a little bit about downtown Sonora. And then here is the walking tour that I believe the student did for a senior project, which was really pretty neat. And a little more information down here at the bottom, like the Visitors Bureau and other links. And if someone wants to search, and again, over on the right we have some news, but also if someone wants to look for a specific business type, maybe it's lodging. And you'll see this search box in other areas, but it gives people visiting a quick place to see if they're looking for lodging. then it highlights where they are. And down below you have a listing with address and phone numbers. And this is easily maintained by city staff. They just have some fields in the back end of the website to enter in new businesses. So very easy to maintain. And next we have the where we are. And on this we're going to have a little text description on how to get their major highways. The nice thing with this map here is they can get directions directly from it. But I think that might not be obvious to everyone, so we're going to put in a few different resources to find Sonora. And we'll have the events page. And then the person can click on any one of these to get more information. I'll go ahead and just click on that one. And some of them, if they put in a map location, there'll be an actual map. So really it's as much or as little content as the person wants to enter in when they're adding the event.
This would include the events at the fairgrounds?
Mm-hmm. Yes. And then we have different calendars throughout the page. Each of the calendars have, like, this one's for events, then we'll have another calendar for city council meetings, things like that. And we go through and highlight the city museums. And then with a lot of these, also to keep it interesting for people visiting, I'm sure there's a lot of people that pass by the Veterans Museum, but they've never seen inside. So we give them a little bit of taste of, what's inside, just to kind of pique their interest. And we do this with the Fire Museum and then the other. Then the Opera Hall. And with this, then it goes into the hall's history, rental information, ideas for setup, or there's photos, Opera Hall events, which is another calendar. And trails and parks. And there's a few more images that we need to get. And then each one of these goes into where, let's see, just a little bit about each park here. Then information on Dragon Gulch with a video clip and just more information on that. Also additional links here on history, plants, and the farmer's market page. And as with any of these images, you can actually click on the images, get larger views.
Yeah, and they'll also be able to, continually add new pictures easily and everything just by uploading new pictures to the gallery for that page.
We have the city's history. And then we put together, let's see, here's, different links, and then, but we also have the historic Sonora Gallery, which I found is fascinating. I think there's a lot of people that live here, they know the history, but the city has just so many great old photos.
Going back to that walking tour.
Yes.
Do we have photos that correspond to the location on the?
When you, I'll go back there real quick.
Photo.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. But you don't have to do it, I just want.
Yeah, there with the different ones, when you actually click on it, it gives you a little photo. It just take me just 1 second to say, like, if you want to see this one here, it pops over on the left. You have the photo there and the little description. And then this is the gallery that I just went to from the city page. Then we have demographics. And then we get into the next is the business pages. And these are more resources. I'll go over here to there's available commercial properties. And much like the other commercial map of businesses, here they can actually see the different properties that are available.
Who's going to administer that?
Sheila will. We do now, but now it'll be in a better form. They submit their information to us and we post it to the site.
From the Board of Realtors? Okay.
And one nice thing with this system is just maintaining the website will take much less time than it currently does. In city government, then we have, break this down into just department information. And with contact for that department at the bottom and department staff. And then for the fire department, we did make a gallery page for that as well. And other department pages are formatting. And this comes into.
Is it a good idea to show buildings burning?
I think that was one of their control or their training burns. And there's just different forms, applications. Let's see. This is Vision Sonora, of course, and then we have more links down at the bottom. And then also on this page, you can come in here and kind of see before and afters just by sliding some of these. And all these images are set up that way. Okay, let's see. Meetings and agendas. Okay, so here we come into Sonora City Council meeting agendas and minutes. And how this is set up here is this is playing. You can actually skip forward to a different part of the meeting. Say, for example, like tonight, we're number 7. We could actually have a menu over here so they could skip to that particular part in the video if that's what they want to see instead of scrubbing back and forth in the video.
So yeah, the text may not actually say skip to 3615. It would just say skip to whatever docket number, whatever you would
So how do you guys do that? Someone's staff will do that, or you guys do it by indexing?
And it's actually, we're just sending through, and this is something that the city will maintain, but it's just a bit of code that just passes over the time to the video to skip forward to that point. So it doesn't require any extra video editing or anything like that. It pulls the video in from YouTube, and then we just have code hooking this to the timeline.
So you know, someone has to enter the time or knows exactly.
Yeah, well, they would have to, definitely scrub forward and find out that, this topic came up at 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So as long as they know what time that is, then you just set it in 2 minutes, 30 seconds to go to that time.
And that'll only be for the most recent city council meeting. After that, it'll be archived, but it won't be attached like that.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, further down the page, actually. If you want to,
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
If you want to scroll down.
Yeah,
because
planning commission meetings.
What
about planning commission meetings? They're videotaped too.
Honestly, what we've done with this, what we've done with this could be done with any video on the website. I don't think, did we have a video link for that? Yeah, we didn't have that, but I mean, it essentially could be done the same exact way, so that wouldn't be a problem at all.
And then, all of these.
Are these features expandable where you can just plug in the same model we use and add in planning commission, for example?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so long as, in this one instance, it would have to, so long as it was on another page, like planning commission page. This kind of technology only works with one video on a page. Otherwise, it'll try to jump all the videos on that page to the same timestamp. But yeah, the older ones, they'll just pretty much live forever on YouTube. So as we kind of go into the older ones, you can see there's the video link in the right-hand column, and that'll just open a new window to the YouTube for that video.
So I tried entering the URL on my phone and I couldn't get it. Because it's not live yet, or I just maybe entering it wrong. It was aw.sonora.com.
SonoraCA.com.
Oh, CA.
Okay, and let's see.
Yeah, there's a handful of pages that don't have a lot of content.
And some of these are going to be filled out with content. In other pages where there is minimal content, we're just going to do a little extra formatting on it. But let's see. Can you think of any other?
Maybe the finance school.
Oh yeah, good. And then here is set up for an FAQs page, but then we sort it by how do I, where do I, and just different questions to make it a little easier to find some things. And then on any of these, you can actually just click on it to expand it.
Next to
yeah. Yeah, you can come over and just click on the text anywhere.
And then, then same thing, they'll be able to add to that as needed, whenever they find themselves getting a flood of the same questions over and over, they can start posting in there.
So I see under city government,
Yes.
we have Sonora Opera Hall listed there under miscellaneous. So is that, when you click on that, does that bring up the information about renting the Sonora Opera Hall?
Yeah, on this page, off to the right, we also have history, rental information, and then ideas for setup, which is different photos of
Right.
different events. So rental information, I'll go ahead and click on that.
So, but for an everyday person, would they know to go to the city government link to find that Opera Hall information? And also, since Caulfield Park is being used so much more, will we be adding something for Caulfield Park on there as well?
I believe we do have something on the parks page. Let's see.
Yeah, and I know Opera Hall was one of those things that it was kind of thought that people might not know, so there's a couple ways to get there. It's also under visiting.
So there's redundancy then on, okay. So click on Caulfield Park for me.
This is actually just lists it.
Okay.
It doesn't actually go anywhere.
Okay.
But this is something, if there was information on booking Caulfield Park, that could be added in. And also, adding pages, the one thing about the website, or any website, is it needs to grow. So this pages can easily be added if you wanted to have a Caulfield Park detail page with different information on, who to contact and general information on it. And then, of course, anywhere in here they can click the search to search for items. And that's kind of a quick overview. And if there's some pages I didn't go through just because I'm not sure exactly how much time you're going to take to go through this, but the website is up so anyone can view it, after hours or during the day.
Is the only way you can search is through the little search magnifier up there, or on the home page? When you go to the home page, is it more descriptive of being able to search?
That's the only search box right now. There's not a search field. It's something we just kind of went with what's the current standard. A lot of times on more commerce sites, you'll have a search field. On this one, we just put the search icon.
And the colors you said are not true, so the banner there by Welcome to Sonora looks brown. Is it brown?
It's brownish.
Yeah, it's kind of a gold.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is really hard to nail in an exact color depending on how many different devices.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it shows up as brown when you're looking at it, so I just wondered where it was. Okay. Well, it looks much better than it did. That's for sure. The events calendar, is it synced with any, like the Visitors Bureau calendar? Can it be synced with the Visitors Bureau calendar, or?
There are ways. It currently isn't set up to be synced with another calendar. It does have that capability.
Because the Visitors Bureau is trying to be like a centralized deposit of everything that's going on in the, well, obviously the county. I don't know how much of that you would want on the city of Sonora.
So we, in the past, have always limited it to just events that occur in the city. And then that's what's on our website. And then we link to their website, so if somebody wants to look at countywide, they can go to this Visitors Bureau. But we've always really focused on our website on what's going on in the city. And we give that extra kudo and website connections and everything to the events that occur in the city. It's kind of an added bonus for coming into the city to do their event.
So if I go to visiting, is there a link over to the Visitors Bureau?
There's community links, and I don't know where did you?
I believe that's in resources. And, these are things where if we need a link to the Visitors Bureau more prominent,
we can put it on.
Do that, yeah.
So one thing to keep in mind is two things. One is both websites are up. The one that we're actually using is the old one right now. So this one is just in the transition mode. So some of the text is going to change, and some of the things are going to change, and some of the gobbledygook text will go away as we get it ready to launch. As now they'll start working more with staff, get all the text in and everything. So when you're looking at it, if something looks off, ask, but so it might just be because it's, it's kind of a holding spot for right now.
Let's still go to school and don't know Latin.
Well, don't feel bad, because I go, do you guys realize that's in a different language? They go, yeah, we know. I go, okay.
Since you have that one up there.
Oh, this wasn't a template. We just put in filler. Yeah.
I love the historic Sonora pictures, but if I'm looking at this website and it says Historic Sonora, California Gallery, am I going to know that that's a gallery of historic pictures? With that verbiage?
I mean, I guess we could put the word photo gallery.
Or
photo gallery.
We can just put, or even just
California
photos.
Historic Picture Gallery or something. I just don't know that, I guess they click on it and look to see what's there. And then they'd know it was historic pictures, but there might be better verbiage for that.
And we'll still have the same address it has now.
Mm-hmm.
We're using the same server.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll all be the same. So this will be, well, I guess it's already been transferred over to the new server.
Yeah, they've been keeping them both caught up with each other right now.
Okay.
Okay. Great.
Yeah, and one of the things, I don't think we really hit it, but kind of to that same business thing, maybe don't.
To
Business. Maybe it was on there visiting.
What are you looking for?
The full business list.
Downtown Sonora. Wasn't that where the business list was?
Yeah, it was the full list.
I think it's under businesses, should be. That should be just the downtown businesses.
Perhaps we figured it out.
Yeah.
I wonder if we accidentally killed the link.
There will be a business listing page just dedicated to downtown businesses.
Yeah,
Does that go in alphabetical order, category order?
Yeah, it goes by category and then alphabetically. It's kind of an expanded version of what we see here. And kind of, I was just going to point out that the main difference to that is that business listing, you'll go into it and it'll be category and then alphabetically. Whereas, and it's kind of the greater city, so it'll be businesses outside of this area, where when you're on the historic downtown page, the offerings from that are only going to be kind of contained within right here downtown. So they'll get kind of an abbreviated business listing from that page that just focuses on these local businesses.
But somewhere there will be a listing of all businesses in the city of Sonora.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's pretty cool because the way they have it set up, with, because Sheila enters them now in our little funky website. So what'll happen is she'll be able to select what maps it needs to be on, and that's probably not the exact terminology, but so when she lists the businesses, if it's a downtown business, she clicks something.
Mm-hmm. She just selects that.
She selects it, so it'll go on 2 lists. She doesn't have to type it twice. Once she inputs it, she selects what listings it should go on, and it'll go in, it automatically will show up on both locations, so, which is a lot easier than what manually we're doing now. So a lot of this is going to be, it's an input once, pick where everything where you want it all to go, and you don't have to keep re-entering stuff. So that'll make it a lot easier for staff.
Okay. Great. All right. Any other comments or questions by the council?
Looks a lot more user-friendly. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
And it will be work on the mobiles. We still need to do a little bit of fine tuning on the mobiles, but yeah. But if you do run into anything, let us know. We're checking our, tablets and phones, but
HTML4 or 5?
what's that?
HTML5.
5, yeah. Yeah, so everything now is up to kind of the current coding standards, so.
The only other thing I would like to add is it's been a pleasure working with Craig and Thomas and our local consultants. It's been great having them right down the street, and they have been a pleasure to work with, and they've put a lot of time and effort into making this look nice for the city. So I just wanted to add that too. They've been great to work with. So.
Thank you.
Well, I think it's great that it's finally done. It's been a long time. It's been a long time coming, and so thank you to staff and to Level 1 for getting it to the point where it is now. Okay, so this is not an action item. So I hope.
So provide any comments back to us, and then we're going to finalize it, and then we are going to launch it so that we don't have to keep having two websites.
Right now, content has to be managed on both sides.
Okay. So our staff's going through now. We're going to fine tune it, make sure we pick up anything that needs to be changed. And if you guys see something, again, it might look a little funky, we're getting that all cleaned up. And then we'll be ready to launch it, and then staff will be trained, and then it can start ebbing and flowing. I think it did I would say too, I think they did a really good job of hitting the visitor plus the user for city business. So it entices people hopefully to come, but it also provides the services that they need for people that live here for doing business.
Okay. Yeah. And it won't crash all the time.
And also one thing, if people are searching for different things on Google and the search engines, it's really optimized well. So you'll see it in more relevant searches.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, do I need to take public comment on that? All right, how about no other questions or comments about from the council? Any public comment?
Well, I think it looks much better. The one thing that I didn't like was the fact that you put city government all the way over to the right, because it looks like we're kind of, when I go to the site, I'm looking for the government stuff. So it kind of looks like we're catering to the visitors, then the businesses, and oh yeah, by the way, we have a government here, because we are the only incorporated city. And I've always had a hard time with the boundaries, so I kept seeing these maps where you see the boundaries, but I'd like to know if there's anything going to be kind of spelled out so that people would know whether they're actually in the city or not, that would be a little bit more specific about the boundaries. And then I couldn't see everything, so I'm going to go through it and I'm going to read every single page. So was there anything in there about our cemeteries? Because we have some really interesting cemeteries here. So is that well done? Because cemeteries. I want to know if that's well done, because that's one of my little pet projects. So, okay, I will check that out. So those are my comments for right now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, then I'll bring it back to the council. And there's no action on this item. So item J is monthly reports. This evening we have none. Item K is Vision Sonora Committee report. We have none, except that the next meeting will be this Thursday at 9 o'clock in the morning here at City Hall. L is communications. We have none this evening. We're on to item M, which is council member and department head reports. So I will ask if there's anything from the Community Services Department. Jennifer, anything additional for this evening? Excuse me.
From administration?
Miss,
no,
yes.
No.
I'm sorry. Community Development Department.
I have nothing.
Ms. Rochelle, anything? Chief
Nothing
Vanderweel, anything this evening?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
And so I'll move over to the city attorney. Anything, Nubia?
No, always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, thank you very much. It's a pleasure having you. Mr. Miller?
Nothing more this evening, thank you.
Okay, I'll start with Mary Jane. Anything from the city clerk?
Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Hawkins?
Nothing at all.
Councilmember Plummer? Okay. Councilmember Garaventa?
Well, I'm going to break the chain. Just a couple of things that I went to. I went to the downtown Sonora Chamber Mixer up at Indigene on the 19th. Attended and also filmed the Fair Board meeting on the 27th. And of course, attended the Unruly Country Festival, helping the chamber with their sales down there.
Councilmember Segarini?
On September 20th, I attended as an alternate the Irwin meeting, and the mayor snuck in behind me, and I didn't even realize it. 21st, I attended the Central Sierra Economic Development District meeting. At that meeting, the board approved Amador County coming in as part of that organization. We now have Alpine, Calaveras, Tuolumne, Mariposa, Sonora, and Sonora as a city, Angels Camp as a city, and Amador as a county. Now Amador has 5 incorporated cities within the county, so we're not exactly sure how that's going to work out, but it looks like they'll have one representative to represent all the cities on the board of directors for that. 21st, I also attended the Visitors Bureau Board meeting, also as an alternate for the mayor. And on the 27th, we had the Merchants Town Hall Forum. Discussed a lot of issues at that. One of them was the talking about crosswalks in downtown Sonora and the safety issue there. And I had previously talked to Tim about the visual part of those crosswalks. In other words, when somebody's starting to walk out into the crosswalk, can a vehicle driver see them immediately or not? And vice versa, can the pedestrian see the vehicle coming? And so there are some intersections that may be modified a little bit to set back or eliminate the parking space that's right at the intersection, so it improves the visibility. My question to the merchants was, if we do that, that may eliminate some parking spaces in downtown Sonora. And I didn't have any intention of going any further with that if they had a problem with that. They did not have a problem with that. They're concerned about safety. And so we will, some fashion, Tim, continue to investigate that possibility. That's something we can do as a city without Caltrans approval. And if it helps safety of pedestrians downtown, let's get it done as soon as possible.
Is that something that goes to the Parking and Traffic Commission?
Yes. It will, yes.
Okay.
And that's it.
Okay, and yes, Ms. Kellogg.
I did.
You did have something.
Staff forgot something in the back of the room, so I was the one that got sent up front.
Oh.
For those of you that do not know, tonight is the city administrator's birthday.
Oh, I forgot.
He spent the evening with us, so I'm sure he'd much rather be somewhere else at 7:30 at night on his birthday. But anyway, we wanted to let everyone know that today, the whole day was his birthday.
Thanks for making me feel that much older.
And so on that note, since it is 7:30, I will adjourn the meeting so Mr. Miller can go and celebrate his birthday with his family.